All right, what is up, everyone? Welcome back to the Experience More podcast. Super pumped and excited for this episode because I am joined by an individual that honestly, we've never met in person, but this is kind of the cool superpower of social media, allowing you to be able to connect with people literally not just down your street or in your state, but literally all the way across the country, across the world. And my man, Nick Jeffries, is someone that I have followed for a good minute in the shadows. And just, guys, the amount of story that I think we're going to be able to gain and perspective from today for just the ethos of the Experience More podcast of live a lifestyle allows you to experience more of it. This man is, a vet. He is a family man. He is an outdoorsman. There is many, many facets to him, and I'm sure we're going to be able to dig into a lot of different things. But before I really get further into this, because we all know I like to talk, I really would love, Nick, go ahead, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hey, I appreciate that. I appreciate you having me here on the podcast. I'm 40 years old. I'm married, been married for 18 years to the same woman. We have two children. Our children, London and Nixon. My wife's name's Rochelle. Our children are 17 and 13 already. So they're getting bigger, but I was in the military, and kind of the short version of an introduction would be I was in the military. I did some time overseas in Iraq, experienced a lot of crappy things, which has led me to a lifestyle that I think I experience more in life. I think that I have a different take on life and how we live and what we do and the amount of time I spend in the outdoors. And then I also work a couple jobs, and we can talk about those. And one of
Mm-hmm.
them's Antler lighting business that I get to have fun with and meet awesome people. And the other is a forestry wildfire job. And I'm very educated and well known in the area that I'm a professional in. And I'm really doing positive things here in my community. And I live here in Spokane, Washington.
Have you always lived in Spokane?
I did, other than my time in the Marine Corps.
Okay.
Other than my time, I just did 4 years in the Marine Corps.
Okay. Awesome. So kind of breaking this up. One, first foremost, really appreciate your service. I did not serve myself. I've been asked if I have in the past and everything. That is not something that I ultimately had taken the leap to go in and ultimately do. But I have a lot of friends and family members who have served, and I think in a long short of it, I ultimately feel like guys don't get enough credit for what ultimately you have done, whether you want it or not. I have buddies who like accept it, and then other ones like, God, don't worry about it, dude. Like they just kind of blow it off. It's just like what I'm here to do. But from me to you, my family, everything, and everyone out there who ultimately serves, you fucking rock. Appreciate the hell out of you and everything you've ultimately done there. With that being said, I know you said you did 4 years. Is that something you always wanted to do? Or you knew you wanted to enlist? Like, what was kind of the backstory to that?
Well, so I've hunted and fished since I was a kid, and I've always like had this thing with guns and rifles, and I always said I wanted to be a soldier. Well, then when I got old enough, I was like, well, do I want to be a soldier? Like, what is a soldier? And then I figured out that there was something called the Marine Corps, right? And then obviously there's a big difference in the things we do in those military services. And so from that point on, I wanted to be a Marine, not just a soldier.
Mm-hmm.
And I always wanted to be in the military. That's something I always wanted to do. I don't think I had a lot of forethought what was going to happen after that, but like I am going to join the military. I'm going to serve my country, and I would love to go get into some live action. That was
Mm-hmm.
my honest take on it when I was a kid growing up.
With that, of course, a big part of this podcast being like physical fitness and living a lifestyle allow you to experience more. What was the training like going into that, or do you feel like you entered it prepared, or what do you feel like you could have done better to be prepared for that? Even like I have a lot of men and women who ultimately are looking, a lot of younger individuals who maybe want to look at enlisting. Like, what was your preparation for that going into the armed forces?
So I was just a kid. Literally, I signed up before, let me think, I was 18, so I hadn't graduated high school, but I still had a couple months left of high school. I was shipping out in the fall of that year. And
Yeah.
I don't think I was prepared at all for what I was about to get into. I always tell people, especially our younger generation, like if you're thinking about joining the military, like just know that it's going to take a chunk out of your life. It's going to put everything else on hold. But I'll tell you that I wouldn't wish it upon anyone, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. The experiences that I had in the military, nothing in my life is ever going to compare to the times that I had in the military. Nothing. It'll be different, but it won't compare to.
In what way? Like,
Just like the experiences that I had, the camaraderie that you gain. Like I literally still talk to guys. I threw a reunion last year for my Marine Corps buddies, and like literally, it's like we never put the beer down. I don't drink, but in that, in that perspective, like we literally didn't miss a beat, man. And it's the same person that you were with over 20 years overseas. And it's different than a civilian relationship.
do you digging deeper into that piece? Because man, and I'm sure that circle is not very big. Am I correct in that sense, or do you have a pretty
Correct.
big circle? Okay.
Correct.
So again, I haven't gone enlisted or traveled, but I have a handful. Like I feel like we all, if you have some really good friendships, like there's those one or two individuals, right, that, or maybe in your life that you could literally pick right up where you left off, right? No matter what direction your life goes on, you can pick up the phone and it's like, holy shit, how the hell you been? Versus like, oh man, haven't heard from you in a long time. Almost like there's that kind of condescending piece. Like there's different people in your life that are more like acquaintances, and then there's those couple diehards to where they just hope the best for you, no matter where you're at in life and whatever direction it ultimately took you. I think there's a lot to do with that, with the struggle. I firmly believe like that bond is built through a lot of struggle. Like what are your thoughts on that, of like that?
Yeah,
That
the
cohesion?
hardships that we experienced. The
Right.
hardships that we experienced is the reason the bond is so tight. Like,
Mhm.
so let me give you an example. So I joined the military. I went into boot camp. I went into school of infantry. My first deployment within 10 months of being in the military was to Fallujah, Iraq, which ended up being the biggest land assault since Vietnam. And some of the most intense door-to-door combat, like crazy, crazy stuff. And like the amount of times I almost died in a day, literally. Like there was, you could say 10, 15, 20 times you almost died in a day. Not
Mhm.
like in the period that you were deployed, like in a day. Like that intensive combat, that intense of struggle. I was young, I didn't know anything about life. Like before I was 19 years old, I had already experienced stuff that, people shouldn't see, right?
Right.
And so
Yeah.
I feel like those struggles that we went through put us in this perspective. And I still think of one buddy, I got a few of them, and there's
Mhm.
actually quite a few just overall that we deployed together. But like, I remember being in the back of a Humvee, scared for our life, underneath cardboard, trying not to freeze to death, cuddling with another dude. Like, it was just like that was the struggle. The struggle
Right.
that night was to stay warm and to
Mhm.
not die. So, there's just weird perspective that just you wouldn't have as a civilian. And it's not that it's a bad thing. It's just like that's what we did.
Right. Right. And I'm you'll learn this real quick about me, Nick, is like I have a hard time not jumping from thing to thing. So I try and keep everything on track within the podcast itself, but in that kind of context, everything there. And we're going to definitely get into the family, the work, the business and all that stuff. But I mean, I love hunting. I love the outdoors. And biggest thing is I love sharing those experiences with people and like being able to take them out for the first time. I get more giddy about having someone get their first buck or bull or something down than me even seeing the biggest bull in the world. In that kind of context, I really, would you say, not me, but kind of in your perspective, like, do you think that's why, there's such a huge cohesion or brotherhood, sisterhood that ultimately comes from the outdoor side of things, to where there is like that struggle and that bond and that campfire kind of effect to it, like kind of the parallels there?
I think there's parallels. I have another buddy that didn't serve in the military. And we hunt a lot together. And our connection is that we've struggled together in the woods, right?
Mm-hmm.
You've had those hunts that you just break each other off, and like he's been there when I've almost fallen out, and I've been there when he's almost fallen out, and
Yeah.
You just you're friends because of that, right? And so it is interesting, and like, yeah, I think that you can correlate that back to very similar to military struggles. It was the military was a different, just because I was in during a
Right.
time of war, and I don't think everybody has
Right.
that type of experience. But the outdoors is my passion, always has been. It's actually the reason that I got out of the military, because I said I wanted to come back and hunt.
Okay. So you did 4 years, right? And just kind of transition in that piece, like, and in no way did I mean, hey, hunting and, live combat's the same, because it's just not. But it's that instance of, like, to your point, the struggle, right? The bond through the struggle. And it's no different than just even like a grueling workout. Like there's no hierarchy in that. Like when you're in the shit, at the end of the day, like it doesn't matter if you're the CEO of the company or a new hire. Like if you're doing a workout hard together, you're the same, and there's a mutual bond and respect that comes from just pushing and holding each other, like the guys to the right and left of you, accountable. No different in the woods, no different in the field. I feel like there is that bond. And I had heard like a quote once to where it's like, women bond belly to belly, so like through like cohesion or like a hug and in care, to where men really bond shoulder to shoulder, right, against a common, whether it's whether it's taking on combat, whether it's going out to harvest this animal. Like that bond is really built through that struggle, and it's something that's always sat with me. And as you're talking about your buddies going out hunting, and that I see so many correlations back and forth in those different fields to it. Why, going from the armed forces after 4 years in there and having the relationships you did over there, like what was the big driver? It's like, yes, the outdoors is the passion, but like dive further into that, help people understand, because there's a lot of people who don't understand that kind of piece.
Like that, why the outdoors?
Yeah, why the outdoors? Why so much? Where does that passion or everything drive from to where you want to totally switch gears?
Well, so I think the adrenaline is what I chase with the outdoors. The adrenaline, the peacefulness, the I guess the difficulty of the challenge, right? Like nothing else in my life will live up to Fallujah, but I can do an elk hunt in North Idaho that'll sure kick my ass and give me a run for the money.
Yeah, 100%. I do not disagree in any way, shape, or form. What's your favorite hunt that you've ever personally gone on?
I've been fortunate enough to experience a lot of fun hunts. We got a little lag here. I might step outside and see if we can fix it.
There you go. You're back.
I'm going to sit outside if that's okay.
Totally fine.
We got better connection now?
Looks like it. It's coming back. Go ahead.
The question was, what's my favorite hunting experience I've had?
Yeah, what's favorite experience thus far?
Man, that's a hard one. I've had so many good experiences, man. I've just been fortunate enough to be able to harvest multiple elk in multiple capacities in multiple states. I think, honestly, my favorite has been being able to hunt with my family, my dad, my daughter, my son, my wife, and all of those people that I've gotten to experience a harvest with has just brought it tenfold. Kind of like you said, like it's cool if I harvest the bull, but when my daughter shot her first cow elk, and my son has a near miss, and my wife shoots stuff, and it's just a totally different game of, you still have that adrenaline, you still have that rush, but like the fulfillment that it brings helping someone else fill their tag, but also it's your family, these people that care about.
So diving further into that, of course, I know Wildland firefighter and everything. Is that correct? Like, what is your position when it comes into wildland firefighting?
So I am currently what's called a wildland resource planner. Are you there?
Okay. Yep, I got you.
So I'm currently a wildland resource planner. So basically, I manage the forests for the city of Spokane.
Got you.
So basically, I'm doing prevention work to reduce the risk of catastrophic wildfire.
Roger. Awesome. So how long have you been doing that then?
So I've been in this position about 4 years, but I also have been doing wildland for almost 20. So I fought fire right out of the military in college. And then
Yep.
I used to run hand crews, and then I was doing forestry work. And that's kind of what led me to this career path that I'm in now.
What do you see in that career path? Because of course I've hunted a lot of Colorado, a lot of southern Colorado. They have a lot of the beetles, all that different stuff down there. But of course you get a lot of people out there where you're at, like, and I guess anywhere across the Western states, like what do you feel are some of the biggest issues that's leading to all the fires that we've ultimately had? Like I'm of course Midwest, like there's a lot of fires that happen out west overall. Like why do you think that's happening as much as it has been?
A few things. One is the world is changing, whether it's global warming or just getting hotter and drier. We have proven statistics that it's getting hotter and drier. Number two, fuel loads. Here in the state of Washington, there's been a lack of management, which has caused basically an enormous amount of trees to grow, and they're all younger generation trees, and so they have regeneration underneath them, and it's basically a ladder fuel, and it basically is that much more combustible. And the last part is that we've built in this interface. So like I live in a house on a hill in the forest, okay? The thing is, these were not here 30, 40, 50 years ago when fire used to burn here. So now we have all these houses built throughout this interface, and we have what we call urban fires. They're not even wildland fires anymore. Like Los Angeles was an urban fire. It literally had structure to structure ignition. The fuel source was houses, not trees. So the reality is we're getting hotter and drier. We're having more significant issues. I'm a huge advocate of prevention work. I'm leading the cause here in the county. I'm actually the chair of a county wildfire coalition. I've done probably about 1,400 acres of thinning work in the last 24 months, which is thinning the trees to make it healthier.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I know in the Midwest we do a lot. I mean, of course, for like conservation, all the different stuff over here. Like a lot of people this time of the year are doing burns, right, to get rid of a lot of the different grasses, help with regrowth and everything coming up underneath. Of course, don't see that happening as much out west, right? And you're talking about clearing out to get rid of some of that, like that fuel source there. And again, I'm very naive when it comes into this side of things. Like I'm trying to even personally learn more and more about the conservational side of things to be able to do my part, but also help educate other individuals, like what can they do when it comes into, of course, the Midwest, out west. For individuals on the outside, like in the Midwest, we see a lot of the burning to help with overall conservation. For you guys having the wildfires and everything else out there, like what could the general population or younger individuals or people who just want to be able to do a part, like be able to play maybe a role in that, in helping out in those areas?
That's huge, man. And so here, there's a multitude of things. Okay, so the first thing that I'd tell you is that here we don't do prescribed fire in this county because there's so many houses. Like you can't light up the 4 acres below me because there's, a house above it, right? So that isn't going to work. Okay. The other thing is our fire conditions get crazy quick. So, unlike the Midwest, our weather's extreme. So it goes from cold to hot. And so if you try to burn in some of those burn windows, you got very short periods. There was actually a 404 acre unit that was supposed to be burnt here in the region, and it's already being like canceled and pushed because weather, and it's just there's just so much at it. So what I would tell people is educate yourself first and foremost. Look around your structure. What kind of defensible space do you have? If you don't know what that is, call a professional. Call your local fire agency. Call the state agency. They come out. A lot of these have free assessments to do around your house. That's the first thing you can do, because ember showers burn as many homes as actual wildland flaming front fires do. The second thing is there's a lot of jobs and a lot of industry in wildfire and forest health treatments. I literally have 6 different crews working throughout the county right now doing forest health treatment work. And what that means is that there's people out there with chainsaw doing thinning projects to reduce the risk. So, there's a lot of different way you can get involved. The Forest Service, the state agencies, the local municipalities, and there's a lot going on with it.
No, that's awesome. I appreciate you sharing that, because that is, I mean, I think about, just the demographic that I even come from in the fitness realm, coming in, and of course, getting more into the entire outdoors piece. And as we built this entire podcast out, like I have a good handful of followers, right, or individuals who follow this podcast that really don't hunt, right, and they're curious. They don't hunt. They don't really understand the conservation side of things and how it ultimately works. So that's huge. I really do. I appreciate your knowledge and expertise in that. So outside of that, now kind of switching gears again, as I like to do, because there's only so much time and there's a lot to you. man, you have started a phenomenal business outside of getting out of the military. And, as I read into it, it played even, a little bit in, the support of, PTSD and all of that side of it. But tell us about your business and really the artist that you are. Like, freaking the stuff you're building, man, is phenomenal.
I appreciate that, man. So it started that I loved antlers, just like most of you do. You just love antlers so much. And then I was driving down a highway and I bought a lamp on the side of a road. And that lamp literally changed my destiny, man. I paid more money than I had for it. This is what I like to tell people. This is a true story. I emptied our checking account, literally emptied it. I think it went to negative on this $300 lamp. Like, we didn't have any money, fresh out of the military. My wife was pregnant. Like, I just had to have this antler lamp, and it was a matte set of whitetail sheds. And I took it home and I just stared at this thing because it was so awesome. And, as years progressed, basically what I did is I dissected that project. I created my own project with my own sheds and I started building stuff. And I always said that I could build anything, but the reality was that probably about 10 years ago, I started to get really good. And, it morphed into this chandelier building. And now I'm honestly feel like I'm leading the industry in a lot of it. There's not a lot of people that can compete with what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. I also don't stain any sheds, which is kind of unique to the market. A lot of them stain the whole chandelier to color match, but like, I have a full-time employee that paints in epoxies, and I can literally build anything out of antlers.
Dude, and yeah, for all you guys who are listening, or if you're on YouTube and you're watching all of this, definitely I highly recommend going, and of course going onto YouTube, going to the beginning of this, before Nick had to move outside and that, just for connection issues. But you'll be able to see in the video, and of course I'll link his stuff and everything inside of the podcast and on YouTube. But even on his website, to the back side of the video that was playing here that'll be on YouTube, is like this beautiful huge chandelier in the background. And it's just something, like, I would say, Nick, like, you are leading the industry in it. I don't know and or hear anything outside of what you ultimately put up. I know a lot of, you'll see different boutique shops and things like that that'll have antlers, but you can tell they're fake, right? They're a manufactured antler of some sort, and it's not an actual real antler put together with a lot of thought and everything to it. And it's just a very niche thing, to where I would put money on the fact that a majority of a lot of very influential people that I personally follow, and I'm sure a lot of people do follow, especially in the outdoor world, to the music world, everything, to where if they see a badass chandelier hanging in their house or in their lodge or anything like it, I would probably say a good portion of them is probably yours in one way, shape, or form, especially if it has that creative piece. Because, I mean, dude, I had to stop scrolling through your website because there were so many different ones that you ultimately had in there, which is freaking awesome.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been fun, and the beauty of what I get to do is that I get to connect with all these clients. So I get to connect with the people with their shed antlers or their racks that they want to have built, or they just want me to build them a chandelier. Some people don't even hunt that order these things, but I'd say the vast majority have a connection to the outdoors, and I have a hard time not getting on the phone with them for a couple hours and really talking about, all the adventures I have planned for the fall, or how ridiculous my fall was last year.
Yeah. What is, like, out of all the antlers that you've worked with, like, in doing this and building this out, I guess first, like, how long have you owned the business now? You've said like 10 years ago you really got good at it. So, like, how long has it been that you've been building this business out?
So I started Custom Antler, and technically in 2008 is when I started messing with them, when I got out of the military.
Okay.
But I honestly didn't start building chandeliers till about 10 years ago.
Okay. When, like, what catapulted you, I guess? Like, where do you feel like your overall growth has come from in the awareness, of course, building a superior product to others out there and just that positive word of mouth? But, like, when did things really start taking off for you?
I honestly think that when my social media has blown up, that's really when I've blown up. My Instagram, I'm up to like 25,000 followers now, but they're like, these aren't purchased followers. Like, these are legit people that care about what I'm doing and who am I. And, I think I'm trying to expand my Instagram more to the fact that, like, I'm trying to show more of who I am on it.
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I was really cautious because I didn't want to get blocked from Instagram for posting a harvested bull, with my bow,
Right.
because I'm trying to sell a product. But
Yeah.
I really came to the conclusion that I think people really do want to see truly who I am and what I do. Like, hunting is important, but listen, I've been to Hawaii fishing, I've been to Florida fishing, we're going to Alaska, we're doing New Zealand, we got elk hunts planned and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, that's, my I tell my brother this quite a bit because he's a phenomenal videographer, photographer, everything. He's self-made and everything over the years. Lives up in Wisconsin. I'm like, hey, you put out some phenomenal content and videos, reels, like anything that looks really cool on my page or anything that I do has probably been supported by him in one way, shape, or form. I'm not that skilled. Working on it, but not there. But that's like, I'm like, man, bro, show your real life. Right? Because it's one thing, like you can make a great, like, yes, show your work because you are phenomenal at it. And I would say the same for you is like, I go through your Instagram and it's phenomenal pieces of work. And you've done a really cool way of like being able to display them from like the winch system that you have in your front desk, which is, an entire, or not desk, but like front porch under there, being able to have a nice outlook. Or I don't know if it's back porch, front porch, but beautiful like back lay. There's thought and detail into that. And I pick up on all those little things, but it's, show your product. And I would say that for you, but dude, even, I was looking through the highlights to where it's like, daughter going out and finding the elk shed or the elk skull and everything, or going in those different moments out on those hunts. And I know you have your highlights and everything up there to where it's the hunts, it's the trips, for me as a dad, like seeing you out there with your kids, it just makes me, I was like, shit, this is a good dude. Like, okay, he does all this, but he's also building the dream over here. Like, it's just a really, really cool thing to see that, because I think about experiencing more of life. How many people right now are, even listen to this. There's people that are right now listening to this and they have like an idea of what they want to do. And they're sitting on their, their hands to be like, oh man, I wish I could do that. But I have kids, but I have this or that. The reality is like, it's going to take a lot of investment. It's going to take investment in you, money.
Hey there,
you
buddy.
spend 300.
It disconnected for a second, but we're back up.
Okay. Well, I was just saying it takes a lot of investment, right? To be able to go through and make what you want to happen. You invested $300 last money that you had on a lamp that with no idea, but more of just a heart and a passion, right? And, I think there's a lot of people right now that just sit on their hands. I sat on my hands for a year before starting this podcast. Thank God that I have a wife that went through and she's like, so when are you starting that? So when are you starting that? I've talked about it for X, Y, and Z, how long? And then she leaves a gift I get home on the table and has a gift with a card, right? That says truth or dare. Truth is and this is what the card said, is like, truth is you've been talking about this long enough. I dare you to actually start it. And then it was a podcast mic. And that's where I was like, wow,
Rad.
shit.
Rad.
Now I gotta go. Right. But it sounds like and I creeped, not gonna lie, but looked at your wife, kind of followed through there. And I have to say, dude, you got a keeper. You got someone who has invested into you, and I can tell you're invested into her, and just hearing you talk about it, that's I think that's what social media needs more of. It's more real, raw, behind the scenes, not just all the algorithm kind of stuff. Like, really, social media's algorithm is human nature. And the more social media and the more media that comes forward, it's like we need to just, I can tell from following, it's like, oh man, this would be I can sit around a campfire with this dude. It'd be a good time. Like, we'd be a good time out on the side of the mountain. So I appreciate what you put out so far, but I would also say, like, it'd be really cool to be able to see you put more of those different pieces out on social media. And I would even say, dude, for you and what you're doing, and I'm sure you've talked with other individuals who are much more influential than I am in any way, shape, or form, and I'm sure they probably told you, but it's like you should probably put a YouTube together and show the work that you ultimately do and build that piece out, because I have no doubt in my mind building those things out and being able to show some of the behind the scenes or the different little vlog stuff would do very, very well, especially with the relationships that you have built thus far. So, not saying, but saying. It'd
Appreciate
be
that,
pretty
man.
cool. I would follow it.
Appreciate that.
I'd subscribe.
I'm right on, man. Well, I am busy, man. I think that's probably to my detriment slash
Mm-hmm.
to my therapeutic side, that it's a good thing that I'm this busy.
Right.
I was listening to your jellyfish podcast the other day, man, and I couldn't get enough of that. Like, so many people just go through life and just exist. They do what the job tells them. I don't know how much detail I want to give on it, but basically, like at my job, I don't have enough time off to do everything I need to do. So what did I do? I told them that I need to do these things and this is what it was going to take. And because I'm a valuable player to the team, they're going to accept it. And if they don't, then I'm going to move on. And it's not a negative thing. It is what it is. Like, I am going to go hunting this fall excessively.
Yep.
I am going to build chandeliers excessively. And, I want to help the community that I'm working in as well. But, the cards only say so much. So you have to push things. Even my wife said something about a trip that we're taking, and she's like, I'm not sure I could get the time off. I was like, well, did you tell your manager that it's important to you and your family? And she's like, I don't know. It doesn't work like that. I was like, it does though. It does though, because if you're a valuable player, that's going to change your dynamic. You have to work hard. Don't get me wrong. But, to be able to do these things, like, and not go through life as a jellyfish, like you had said, man, I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you looking at that. Man, there's so many pieces to that jellyfish analogy that fall in because, I mean, we're just human. That's just the truth, right? Like, there are days that, you have a beautiful family, you have a beautiful career, a job, a passion that you've done, and I'm sure there are still days, and I can't speak for you, but I know for me that there are days to where it's like I get back going into it. But if it wasn't for the passion behind it, like, you wouldn't get up and do it. And that's where I feel like so many people, like, that floating through life like a glorified jellyfish, is they are going with the stereotypical norm of just society. They're going with what society has put out for them, what they think they should do, what they think they have been told for their whole life, and ultimately what would deem them successful, right? Versus going against the grain, right? Getting out and actually being proactive and just going for what it is you are truly passionate about. But that is where it's like, you will be faced with adversity, as I'm sure you have. No different than your wife. Like, and adversity is relative, right? But like your wife, like, her having that conversation with her boss, right, or her lead, that is adversity. Most people would just be pushed over and never even take the opportunity to see, like, the answer will always be no if you don't ask the question, right? If you
Correct.
don't push towards it. So it's like, but so many people live in fear of being told no, when the reality is like, it'll always be no, right? Going that way. And you are going to have to ultimately, create some waves, right? If you're going to go and want to actually do anything in life. So that's, yeah, don't float through life like a glorified fucking jellyfish. That is the fact.
God, I couldn't agree more, man.
Yeah. So,
take life by the horns, man, because you're the only person that's going to make change. And change sucks, dude, no matter if it's good or bad.
Yep.
Unless you're getting a giant sum of money as a change, it's probably not going to be a fun adventure. Whether you're moving, whether you're making a job or career decision, there's going to be discomfort. You know what I mean?
100%. But I would say, and this is for you, I'm sure you could say in this, probably some of the greatest moments of growth for you are right on the other side of the discomfort.
For sure.
Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%, man. 100%.
In the moment, it probably doesn't seem like it. It probably is like,
doesn't seem like it. And I feel like everything happens for a reason. I'm not like overly religious, but I'll tell you that there's so many blessings in this life that it can't all just be karma and fate, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's got to be something greater driving us to this, amazing experience that we're having. right? Like when you look outside, like, I don't know, I don't know how you feel about that, but the thing is, like, I don't need to push religion to tell people to be thankful. Like, if you're grateful, you're going to not feel anxious, right?
Yeah.
If you're
Yeah.
thankful, you're not going to feel anxious because you're feeling grateful and thankful.
Yeah, man. I mean, it is. I come from the family like I am. I believe there's a creator. I believe there's a bigger power and something greater than all of us, right? I wouldn't say that I'm like a pusher in X, Y, and Z, similar, right? But I've never felt closer to my maker, my creator, than ultimately 4:35 in the morning, the top of the mountain, watching the clouds rise out, as the world wakes up, and knowing that I'm probably one of, if not one of the only individuals on the top of the world at that point in time, right? And you can't tell me that that is something that is just, oh, we're just here, right? But also being there for you, it's like you didn't get to where you are right now because of nothing. It wasn't, I have friends in my life and circle that ultimately are like, oh man, one day I'm going to have this huge lump sum of money. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z and have all these things happen. You can wish all you want, right? And I'm a firm believer like thoughts are things, right? And that's like that whole aspect, like you have to be able to see it and visualize it and believe in it. And if you can do that and then really speak it into existence, and what I mean by that is you must speak it loud enough for you to hear it and others to hear it, but also they have to hear it through your actions. And I would say for you, your actions in what you've done, what you've created, there's a reason that you are known at the front of the industry for custom antler designs. Like there is no doubt in my mind, but that's because you took action on the thoughts that you had, right? It wasn't because you thought, oh, it'd be cool to make antlers one day, right? It'd be cool to make that a business or do X, Y, and Z. But now look at, because of that one thing, that one decision to buy a $300 lamp has created a pivotal point 10 years prior to you being able to do what you do now. But that's where I feel like most people, like, they're afraid to take that chance. They're afraid to invest in themselves. And I know I'm there to where it's like, but the more you do that, I call it kind of like the light switch effect. Like you have to turn the lights on in your life. Everyone walks into a room, the room's dark. You're afraid to turn the lights on because you're not sure what you will see and you might not like what you see. But the truth is, like, you got to turn the lights on and just move forward. And it's just going to be one room after another. And the more you turn the lights on, like, the easier it gets. You're just like, fuck it, flip the switch. And if you don't like what you see, you shut it off, turn around, go into another room, turn it on again, and you go that direction. But so many people are afraid of what they will find in that, to where they never turn the lights on. And you're going to have to walk down a lot of hallways and open a lot of doors and move into a lot of rooms to be able to see that. And that's where it's like, it's just cool to see what you've created, in all honesty, because you talk about 10 years, and I know individuals who have started a business or done things, and they're, 2 years in, and they're just like, oh, this isn't it. So I don't know if I can keep doing this. Well, if you don't have a passion for it, then you're probably, if you don't believe in yourself enough, no one else will ever believe in you. Why would they?
Yeah, I agree with that.
So, sorry, I went on a rant.
No, it
I have
was
a lot
good,
of
man. It's
that.
meaningful. And I feel like the people that are listening to this can connect to you as a human, and like that's what it is. It is. It's connecting as a human, and taking that chance and not being a jellyfish, and like those are positive things that you can do to impact your life. Like people often, I think people when they meet me first time, they get thrown off a little because I was an infantry Marine, man, and I come off just like an infantry Marine. Like I went to college and stuff, but man, I still come off as an infantry Marine. Like, if people get me, the first thing they say is like, "Hey, bro, what'd you do with all the crayons? Did you eat them all?" Like that's seriously like, but that's how like I am. I was a Marine first, so I feel like a lot of people don't lack the drive. They just don't know what to do with their drive. Find something that they're passionate about and do something about it. The hunting industry, is no different. Like I have friends that are like, man, what I'd do to kill an elk like that. I'll be like, man, you want to know what you do? You work overtime shifts and you buy the damn tag, or, you work overtime shifts and you apply to 1 or 2 states. Okay. So maybe we don't all have the financial fortitude to do all this crazy shit, but you know what? You can start small and you can still do that, but you got to have the motivation and drive to do it yourself. I can't do it for you.
No, dude, that is such a good, I'm glad you bring that piece up, because that even, the aspect of like experience more of the outdoors. I'm very fortunate and blessed to grow up in the family that I did. And I grew up hunting like you, right? Had dad, grandfather introduced me to all this, but my dad wasn't dumb either, because he also knew, being from Wisconsin, he's like, wow, well, from 12 to 16, my son's tag's only $100 for out of state. So I'm just going to take my son so I can go elk hunting. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. He's like, dad's not stupid. Right. He's like, I found a way to make this even more cost effective. But even outside of that, and I know you get it. I've gotten it my entire life. It's like, man, I wish I could afford to go do that. And the truth is, it's not, anyone can afford to go do it. You just have to make it a plan and budget it in to where it's like, okay, yeah, the tag's $800 for out of state, wherever you're at, right? Whatever kind of thing I say around that. And it's gone up. Yes, you have to look at travel. Yes, you have to look at these times, but it's like no other trip that you ultimately could take or do. If you don't put it on the calendar, you're never going to go. Like no other trip that's out there. But a lot of times, to your point, most people, they do a lot of wishing and not take a lot of action in it.
You've mentioned a few times about like mentorship.
Yeah.
And hunting, bringing people into the hunting and family. And we've talked a lot about, yes, my daughter's she shot an elk in Idaho. We went hunting in Colorado. She shot a lion in Washington. She shot deer with her bow and a rifle. And this kid's 17, she has a huge hunting career ahead of her.
Yeah.
And, my wife and my dad get to take these adventures, but how about other people? So I meet people along the way, and it's funny that you can connect with someone with the outdoors, but so I have a couple veteran friends that I've taken hunting. I have 2 guys that were in my unit that were buddies of mine that I have actually hunts planned for this fall. They're both elk hunts, actually. One's going to have the tag, and I'll have a tag in Idaho, and then the other one will be in Arizona, and I'll have the tag, but he'll tag along. But I don't know, I feel like mentoring people or finding a mentor is the number one thing you can do to get into hunting and figure out, take 5 or 10 years off the top. It took me, I've been hunting since I was a kid. I've been elk hunting since I was a kid, but I would say that I didn't really learn anything it's such a big learning curve the first 5 years. And so if you can find a mentor, that's going to take years off the progression, years.
Yeah, I would, yeah, it takes a lot of it off of it, to where you are, you're cutting the learning curve down immensely. Right. And to your point, you brought your daughter, family members, same thing, grown up around it to where it's take my daughter, take my wife, slowly. I mean, my daughter's much younger, but want them to be involved. But I think also some of the cooler things too is and this goes on the mentor side, to your point, if you've never hunted before and you want to get involved, look for a mentor, look for someone that maybe goes with, not, hey, can you take me hunting? It's hey, can I come along hunting with you? Right? Can I come with? I don't even have to hunt. It should never be an imposed thing. If you want the ticket to all of that is don't ask for something other than how can you help and come along. It's one of the easiest ways to be able to go out and get involved in it. Cause I did that when I moved to Missouri here. I'm hey, I don't need to hunt. It's just, you need someone to pack stuff out for you or be able to drag things out. You let me know. I'm here to help and support. It's a learned thing, but it's also a mutual respect piece. For individuals coming in, yes, they can find that mentor. Yes, we can do better as mentors from your perspective on it, and, getting around, a lot of very influential people in the outdoor space, from having the opportunities and the family members that you were brought up in. What do you think we as outdoors men and women can do to create a better positive impact for the outdoor industry, for the outdoor community as a whole? Because I don't know how much you've kind of listened in on different podcasts, but that's something I feel like the industry, the outdoor industry has created this negative space for the community, right? It has dissolved an aspect of the community to where it's this or that. I'm this team or that team. To where it's at the end of the day, we all love doing the same things, right? Doesn't matter what you do, what you shoot, what you wear, all those things. Like, yes, we want to support different people, but it should never be a derogatory piece. So kind of from your side of it, like for us to help the next generation move forward and do things, what do you think we can do? What do you think needs to be changed or impacted?
Well, I think first of all, doing everything by the rules. I think hunting and fishing is one of those things that you gotta be a book follower, rule follower. I think that's the first thing. And like, I'm sure that there's a lot of ways to cut corners and a lot of different things, but like, no matter what I'm doing in the outdoor space, I'm doing it to the most legal extent possible. I think that because it's not just because I want to do that. It's because it's the perspective that it gives to everybody else too. So that one negative incident, really gives a negative perspective for a lot of people. So I feel like, really paying attention and knowing what you're doing. It's important. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're good.
Okay. So, the other thing is, like, I feel like social media has this negative tune about posting only your giant stuff, only these giant 350 bulls and these, 150 whitetails. So I can tell you right now, in my state, my home state that I hunt here in Spokane County, if you I've shot a 160 buck here once, but the reality is most deer that I'm going to shoot are going to be a 3 or 4 point. And that's going to be the biggest deer that I had an opportunity to shoot all season. And I'm telling you, I put in 10 or 15 days just in that tree stand. So don't be ashamed of what you harvest, because the goal here is not the antlers. You want antlers, you come in the shop. I got 5,000 pounds sitting over here. You're hunting for the harvest, for the jerky, right, for the sausage, for the steaks, for the lean, clean meat, for the knowing where your food came from, right? Food doesn't come from a grocery store. Food comes from somebody's got to harvest that animal and put it into that package. And I feel like that is the biggest thing we can do as hunters. We can understand where our food comes from. We can do it ethically. We can do it morally. We can do it legally, all those different things. But don't be afraid of posting your picture that you harvested. Like, no one's going to say, damn, that's a small buck. You know what I mean?
Right. Right. Well, and that's like anyone who says that, they've never hunted for a period of time. Because anyone who's gone out and shot big bucks, like, they've gone out and they've harvested some smaller ones as well, and there's nothing wrong with that in any way, shape, or form. Like, you hunt long enough, it's gonna go. So I agree with you. Like, I'm gonna go right back to kind of poking the bear in the sense of like showing your lifestyle, right? Because I agree, it shouldn't just be the grip and grin side of things. Like, yes, to be proud of what you have done and accomplished, and like, there's nothing wrong with sharing those different things and doing it in just a good way, but it lacks the context. I think the real meat and the real power behind it is the story that ultimately is in that. And it's not just a grip and grin photo, right? It might be a bull of a lifetime, a buck of a lifetime, and all that stuff. But how many days did you sit in that tree stand? How many miles did you have to put on? How far did you have to pack it out? Like, who did you take with, right? Who was there to maybe help or support? Like, there's so much more that, it also sets, kind of, people who are looking at doing this, it gives a better perspective of like, oh, it wasn't just a guy who went out, shot something, sat out there for an hour and just putting stuff down. Like, a lot more to it overall. So, no, I agree with you.
Well, and the real context is I've shot a 160 buck. I've shot 2 340 bulls, but I've shot 15 raghorns, and I've shot a whole bunch of 100-inch whitetails. Like, more than I can count.
You got freezers full every time.
I got freezers full every year, man. So that's the goal. The goal is the freezer full, right?
Yeah.
A good elk is a dead elk.
Yeah, I think that was like the last thing I saw in your highlight reel, or the highlights you had, was like freezers full. That's all it was. Like that was the whole
Yeah.
title of the photo on there. So I can appreciate the hell out of that. Um, I love it. And yeah, I mean it is like I think that's something, it's been cool seeing the growth. I think social media, I'm a firm believer, like it's like a hammer, right? Like you can build a beautiful home with a hammer, you can destroy that same home with a hammer. No different with social media. It's like how you use it, right? Um, and we wouldn't know each other or get to know each other if it wasn't for social media, right? I'm
Right.
here in Missouri, you're out Washington, like that. Dude, how cool is it that we live in a day and age where it's like we're able to connect literally on a click of a button, or see things that ultimately people are interested in that we would have never met before. Like in 10 years ago, probably would never know each other, kind of thing. And it's just cool to be able to use social media again. Not a like I don't need and or want anything from anyone who ultimately follows me. It's like I want to be able to tell a story and hopefully create an impact and share a journey, right? To where you're sharing a journey of what you are doing. It's just it's so wild that people look at social media as this negative piece, but it's also because some people use it in a negative piece. But you could
Right.
also look at what you were talking about before. If all you focus on is negative, 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 that's all you are going to see. But look at all the
Yeah.
good, right? The opportunity, the
Yeah.
relationships, the conversations, all the things that happen from that. So I think that's something too that you've done a really good job at. I know you're like the algorithm's worried about that stuff, but I look forward to being able to see more of your story and journey as time evolves and things go and grow there. And I think it's social media is like a scrapbook, right? I don't know if people know what those are even nowadays. Like this is
Right.
stuff mom
No, it
mom used to
is.
put together, right? But it's a scrapbook to tell the story to where it'll still be here long past when you and I are dead and gone, right? So our daughters will see it, or future kids will see it, grandkids will be able to see it. Like it's a scrapbook that lasts for generations, to where it's like, what lessons are we teaching? What stories are we telling? How can we go through and create an impact for generations ultimately to come forward? Because what you put out there right now will, whether you like it or not, have some sort of an impact potentially on future generations. So just a different way for people to kind of look at it there. But um, man,
Do
I'm
you have a
gonna
lot of epic hunts?
do I, bro?
Yeah, for the fall.
Oh, do I? No, I have. I will say they are epic hunts because they are not honestly me hunting. My goal is to get my wife out for her first rifle hunt, so we're planning that.
Yeah.
Probably we're going out. My goal is to take her out Colorado, probably second season, so just general over the counter, right?
Yep.
And then I'm gonna actually come up here in April, May. May is gonna come real quick. There's like a handful, a couple friends. We have some property, northern Missouri, that friends are inviting. There's gonna be like I just keep finding out about more and more people coming up. So I think there's gonna be like a group of 10 of us going out turkey hunting, and that'll be my. It's gonna be wild. Like my one buddy
Yeah.
who Zach, like Zach and Gabby, they're the ones hosting it, and he was very very good. I don't know if he was nationally ranked, but very good turkey caller. He did a lot of competitions and all that back in the day. But he's like, bro, I can't wait to sweetheart all these things in. He's like, but if any of you guys bring a bow to shoot a turkey, we're gonna throw hands. I was like, so there's a good crew of us that are gonna do some turkey hunting. Again, wanting to I'm getting my wife on it to where I want to have my wife set up, because that'll be her first hunt ever. Would be that turkey hunt. So she's sat in the blind with me, and I'll be that guy who kind of like rolls over. I'm like, hey, you want to go on a blind date? Like, 3 a.m. She's like, you're so dumb. No, I'm going back to bed. Um,
Yeah.
but we got that turkey, or the archery hunt, and then I've made it a point to go up and go with family and friends doing. We have some land up in northern Wisconsin. We actually used to have an elk ranch up there, and we had about 1,100 acres that was high fence. We did a lot of hunts for like Make a Wish program. That's really where I got even into guiding, was working with a lot of those. individuals and just gave me a great appreciation for life. Knowing that was their only dying wish, was to be able to go on an elk hunt, and just be able to be a part of that was wild. But since my grandpa had passed, we had sold the ranch or the property up there, but we kept an 80 that's buttoned up to about 10,000 acres of state land. And
Wow.
My whole goal with that piece of property, as it was my grandpa's goal, with the cabin that we had up there, and ultimately the land that he had built up for generations, was to bring people together, right? Family, friends, all that. So with that 80, that's something we started last year. Was I just cleared out a section of the 80. We put a wall tent up. There were about 9 of us that got together just for archery deer camp, old school style. Just everyone rolls in, hangs out, bonfire at the end of the night. And that's something I'm going to be really holding as a tradition piece, like every single year. Just good people coming together, share the woods, share the campfire. And to your point, like, just there's nothing better than, in my kind of mindset, like, to be able to share that campfire after you've gone out and done that. And especially, like, it's just, we'll set up a couple wall tents and freaking drink, essentially live off of coffee and, canned goods for about, 4 days. So, but baked beans has never been so good other than on top of a campfire. So I'm all for that. But yeah, that's, I was asked this. I actually got roasted on social media a while back by a gal who, her perception was, oh, you run First Form Outdoors. Oh, you get to go on and do all these different hunts and X, Y, and Z. Dude, that was last year, and I could count on one hand the amount of times that I actually got out hunting and did it. And 3 out of the 5 times that I was able to get out, 3 of those times was trying to get my buddy Sean on his first whitetail. Right. And to your point, like, you're busy, you got stuff going on, and yes, you're making it a priority and everything this year, to get out there. But like, over the last couple of years of even building it, my whole focus is like, how do I help share the experience and get more people involved, to where it's like the events that I went on were to different trade shows, or slept in my truck, whatever I could do to go like connect with people. So, hunt wise, I don't have a ton of hunts myself. It's more or less like, I'd be, even if someone called me and was like, hey, I need a pack mule to pack out some moose. I'm like, let me see what I can do. Like, what can I get on the calendar to get it off? So,
yeah.
But what about you? I know you got a bunch, you said, with taking vets out and all sorts of fun stuff.
I got all sorts of stuff, man. I'll just name a few of them. I probably got 50 days in the woods planned for the fall.
I love it.
But me and my buddy are going to Alaska on a DIY. My wife's got an Idaho tag, and she should have a New Mexico tag.
Yeah.
Then we got Idaho with my dad and my boss and my old squad leader. And then,
love that.
And then we jump over to Colorado. My dad and I have a hunt. Then I got an archery hunt with one of my old lieutenants in southern Idaho for mule deer. And then, because I'm not spoiled enough, I drew a San Carlos melee tag, and I'll be down there with a buddy that's never hunted, that I served with in the Marine Corps. That's awesome. Hopefully by then I'll have enough meat that I'm just going to donate all the elk to him, and it'll just be a fun adventure with me and him.
Hell yeah. That's awesome, dude. Is he just coming along for the experience as a whole?
Yeah. So I'm the tag holder, so he can't shoot it, so,
Yep.
but we actually put in for the draw in Arizona together, and he's a resident, so he actually has a chance to draw it. But we were talking about that. We didn't draw that. And then, this San Carlos draw came out, and I actually got a tag somehow, but, so that ought to be an epic hunt, man.
Yeah, no kidding, man. That's so the DIY Alaska hunt. You going moose?
Yeah.
What are you chasing?
Moose.
Yeah.
Yep.
Are you
so we booked
flying in bush plane or?
Yeah. So they drop us, and the original plan was they were dropping us on a river and then we float. Well, both of us were like neither of us are river guides. Like, this doesn't seem like a great idea. And then I heard some horror stories and I was like, I've never even been to Alaska, let alone go try to kill a moose by myself. Right.
Yeah.
But basically what we talked the outfitter into, and he was game, is leaving us at a lake with a boat so we can travel the lake to get the high spots to then hunt.
Roger.
So, and this is my civilian buddy that I only hunt with. So
yeah,
he's a good, strong dude like me. So we should be all right.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out if we don't know. So
I love every aspect about that. And I'll definitely be picking your brain afterwards, man. That's one of my goals, is to take Dad on an Alaskan moose hunt. So he's guided me out west and done all that stuff. And every single year he's like, and I don't know how many years I'm going to be able to do this. I'm like, well, until I bury you in the side of the mountain. It's like every time I talk to him, I'm like, all right, we're going to go do something that's, you think elk are big? Let's go after moose. So,
well, and that's kind of goes back to your point of like, life goes quick, man. I'm already 40. My dad's 66 years old. You know what I mean? Like, how many years do I got left hunting with my dad? I've been hunting with him since I was 5. No pun.
Yeah.
35 years I've been hunting with this guy.
Yep, exactly. A lot of memories, a lot of stories and experiences had in there. That's for sure.
For sure.
So I can relate to that, because I can remember back, dude, it just makes me smile, because it's like I can remember like some of my earliest memories with Dad is him having me wrapped up in a sleeping bag and shoving me into like a corner of a tree stand that was built out of pallets, right? And him just trying to play the game, whether he saw anything or not. But he just like, I'd be sitting down there with like some little toy or whatnot. He's like, shh. He's like, oh, there's a buck. He's like, hey, do you hear that? He just like plays that whole thing, trying to be quiet. I'm just sitting there like, oh my gosh, the coolest shit's about to happen, right? Like, I just remember being stoked. Yeah, so I love that. But well, you know, let's wrap it up. I know I'm gonna definitely be picking your brain about looking at jumping on, doing another call on that. I truly appreciate your time and getting to know you a little bit, allowing, honestly, everyone who's ultimately going to chime into this to know a little bit more about you, about your business, your background, your style. And honestly, like, I think you're a great example of what truly is possible for people to go out and experience throughout their life, whether that is in the hunting woods, in their family, in their business, in creating a business, that ultimately anything and everything is possible if you're willing to go through and grind it out and actually put yourself in the position to be successful with it. So I do appreciate your time for that. The one thing I want to ask, and I always ask this, is anyone coming on, any nuggets for anyone who is ultimately, listening right now, whether that is, we talk about mentorship. Is there anyone that you would recommend people follow along and learn from? Any books, podcasts, anything that has ultimately helped you experience more of the outdoors, of life, anything of that you would give to anyone listening?
I don't know if there's anybody. So I am not really a follower. I follow a lot of people and I enjoy I really have enjoyed listening to your podcast, but there's not anyone that I could say out loud that. But I would say this: the harder I work, the luckier I get. And like, I don't know if that makes sense, but like, you have to put that in your own context, right? Yep. And so like, I don't feel like, yes, we're all handed different things in life. And some of us are blessed with other things that others aren't. But I would tell you, the luckier I get, the harder I work. The harder I work, the luckier I get. So, people might say, well, I'm jealous. That guy's got, I seriously think I have 5 elk tags this year. I'm not exaggerating that. And that's jealous. Not to brag.
I'm over here as like, hey, can I have one?
You can join me on one, but here's the idea.
Yeah.
I work 60-hour weeks, 70-hour weeks. Yep. I grind until that hunting season turns around, and then I'm out. But the thing is, like, it's not handed, man. You gotta dig in, and you gotta dig deep, and you gotta, apply yourself. Listen, I never thought I was going to be a successful businessman. I went to college and had
Yeah.
dreams just like everybody else, but it's the grind, man. It's the
Yep.
grind that brings you out at the end of the tunnel, right?
Yeah. Yeah, man, I think that's a perfect way to go through and end it for everyone who's ultimately coming in is like, hey, the harder you work, the luckier you get. And it's not like it really isn't, like, to your point, it's relative to individuals. Hard is relative to individuals, but there is so much truth into that simple little saying there that really luck follows effort, right? Like it just happens over and over and over and over and over again. And people get lucky, you start feeling good, you do that, pushes you to work harder, and it's that whole momentum snowball effect, right? Yeah, there's going to come times where you get knocked down, slapped around, all that different stuff. Life likes to hit you down, right? It's the Rocky saying, it's like, it's going to hit you. It's going to hit you hard. It's like, how are you going to get up after it's knocked you down, right? So I appreciate that. I appreciate that message. I appreciate what you're doing, man. Like, I really do. It's super, it's super freaking cool. Like,
Appreciate
I can't
you,
wait
man.
to watch it grow out. But what would be, if someone wanted to go through, connect with you, what is the best way for them to be able to reach out to you, connect with you, to be able to see your artwork and everything that you have going on?
So I got a website, which is customantlerdesigns.com.
Mm-hmm.
The other option is Instagram and Facebook. It's custom antler designs on Instagram. And if you look
Mm-hmm.
up Nick Jeffries or Custom Antler Designs on Facebook, I'm on there as well. I'm on Threads. I have a little YouTube channel with a little bit of stuff, but I don't really push it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, look me up on Instagram and Facebook and my website.
Awesome.
If you just Google me, I'm all over the internet, but for all sorts of reasons. But if
Yep.
you want to connect about antlers, you want to connect about hunting, hit me up. If you're struggling and you need someone to listen, man, I'm here for you. I think that there's a lot of positive in this world, and I think we gotta, come together as a team and make this happen. So
100%. Well, Nick, I appreciate you coming on, being a part of the Experience More podcast, allowing your experiences in life, the good, the bad, the indifferent, everything across the board to be able to move you forward, because it's definitely created one hell of a life experience, I would say. And I would just getting to know you a little bit here. I'm like, haven't even gotten started yet. Like, got a lot of life to go. I know we're definitely going to have to do another episode, and definitely even one after some of the hunts, because I want to be able to hear. I mean, 5 elk tags, moose tag, a lot of different stuff going in there. I think there's a lot of experiences that'll come along with that, a lot of stories that'll come along with
yeah,
that. That would be really, really cool for everyone to be able to really hear overall. So, but that being said, guys, I'll put it in the show notes, whether you're on YouTube or on any platform here. Definitely check out the notes below. I'll go through and link up Nick's Instagram, his YouTube, his Facebook, everything ultimately there, his website, so you guys can go check these things out. And I highly recommend, if you're not checking it on his website, go check out the beginning of even this episode on YouTube, and you can kind of see it in the background of even the video that he has going on right now. He's got a beautiful chandelier in the background. But if you have questions, definitely reach out to him, connect up with him. Even this being our first time getting connected, I like to think that I have a really good, just a judge of character and energy overall. I believe that he's a genuine individual who's a hard-ass working individual who wants to be able to see other people go out and win and experience the best things out of life overall, for all facets of life. So with that being said, Nick, I appreciate you. Appreciate you coming on to the show and being a part of it, sharing your journey. And we'll have more stories and experiences to share as time goes on. Anything else you want to leave anyone?
oh man, thanks for having me, and I really look forward to hearing from some people and being able to chat with you again, Jake.
Hell yeah. Sounds good, Nick. Appreciate you, dude. We'll see you guys next time.
Man.
Peace out.